Welcome back. Lucy and Roy here.
Hello.
And today we're going to do something a little bit different to our usual review. We went to see Michael Jackson on the Wall, which is art inspired by Michael Jackson. And what we really want to do is to talk a little bit about inspired art, fan art, maybe, about Michael Jackson, what we think should have been in the gallery and the exhibition. Some of it we would agree with, and some of it we think there should be other things involved in that as well. Now, I must declare myself a Michael Jackson aficionado and fan. So, lots and lots of stuff in my collection. This is only a small portion of it. So, I really enjoyed it, I've got to say. You enjoyed it too. It's very interesting. Yes.
Not a natural
Yes.
on the video, yes. Yeah, I forget you have to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we wanted to hear from you about what you think should be in an art-inspired exhibition on Michael Jackson. So, first of all, a top 5 each of our favourite things that should be, or were it maybe in the gallery at the time. So, were you going to go first?
Well, I thought I was going to say a couple of things. Is what before we do it, we should do a review of the art that was there very briefly. What I thought about it. And if you look at all the newspaper reviews and magazine reviews, lots and lots of them are 5 stars. And I think if you're a Michael Jackson fan, you're going to go. So don't take any criticism from anything he said. But this was really prompted by me, who's not a Michael Jackson fan, like Michael Jackson, but not necessarily a fan. But I couldn't see the 5 stars. The cuckoo goes every time I'm talking, every single time.
He likes you.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, I couldn't quite see it as a 5-star review, and I went through lots and lots of newspaper reviews out there and found one by somebody I admire as a reviewer, Matthew Collings. I've seen a lot of the things he's done on TV. And what he said, really, to summarise it, kind of matched exactly what I think, which was it was all good art, but some of it was a bit dull and a bit earnest, really. Good art, but some of it was, and we thought a Jackson fan, I don't know what they're called, would perhaps do something different, and that's really what sponsored this, I think. A different approach to what we normally say. Is that fair?
I think so. And some of it was commissioned for the exhibition as well, which was bizarre.
Well, art inspired by Michael Jackson, but we'll commission it. Sort of strange, but there you go.
Didn't strike the right kind of note. But it was an experience as well. It was great because you saw some really important pieces to do with his life, you know, as a youngster, all the way through, important album covers, and you walked through a great archway, which was really fun, and you could walk on the lights on the ground as well. So those were good. Definitely very, very good. So, are we ready to kick off with the top 10?
Top 10 of things that we would put into a show, and then we've got a question for you at the end.
Mm-hmm. So, you were first?
Oh, I was?
Yes.
Okay, so my first one is one that was in the show, and I think it was great. It was a pair of Michael Jackson style dancing shoes. I think there might have been a pair of his shoes, I'm not sure, attached to some balloons. So they were standing on tiptoes, rather like he could, and to the ceiling was some balloons holding these shoes up by some ribbons, and sort of gave you the idea he's light on his feet. And I thought that was absolutely what the Jackson thing should be about. It was inspired, it was creative, it was modern, it was contemporary, it was kinetic in a way, and a great piece to be in there. Liked it, approved.
Number 2, and these are in no particular order, by the way, actually, but there was the Mark Ryden Dangerous album cover, which is like a seminal piece of work, large piece of work, beautifully presented in a wonderful frame. And not only that, you get the opportunity to walk through an enlarged version of it as a archway and go into a different portion of the exhibition. But it was really great to be able to actually see the real thing in the flesh. I just loved that.
As you walk through the arch, you get David LaChapelle's photographs either side down the corridor from, well, at least one was inspired from one of Michael Jackson's albums. large pieces, perhaps 5 or 6 feet tall, several feet wide, and they made a good setting for it.
Everything was big, super size, exceptional. Yeah.
So Mark Ryden is your
Mark
vote.
Ryden
We both
as
like
well.
Mark Ryden's work anyway.
Yeah.
Been around a while as an artist actually, so interesting choice. But the only album cover in there.
Yes, I think
Odd.
so.
Okay. So I'm doing this in order, got some notes. So my next one is a picture that was actually sponsored for the show, commissioned for the show, and it was by Michael Craig Martin. He's an artist, been around a while. Terrible because he's got 3 first names, so I can never remember this Michael Craig Martin, Martin Craig Michael, Craig Michael Martin, whichever. He does a lot of graphic stuff, so he does them in the style that I like. And this was a picture of Michael as a young black kid, which he was, really giving that impression. And it was on tape on glass. And so it was an outline picture, a bit like you might do with an art pen, only using tape. And the thing that came to my mind when I saw that, the thing I loved about that was, do you remember these things? Cassettes, tape decks, and not the microphone. The tape reminded me of the tape that we had these, and when Michael started out, he would have been working, and we would have been listening to some of his stuff on magnetic tape, and I thought that was a really nice touch, and a bit of art that was both historic and relational to his work. So I thought that was a great piece. So that was a 5 out of 5 for me. Just the sort of thing I would have liked to have created.
Yeah. Number 4 is the Thriller jacket. So Thriller is the best-selling album of all time, apparently, and I think again the design, the fashion, is something that actually hit mainstream fashion a little bit. It actually appears again in Beverly Hills Cop 1. With some guys walking down the boulevard in Beverly Hills. So it did make a statement. We didn't see it there. We saw some other jackets and some other fashion films and stuff like that. But that would have been interesting to see something like that. It was designed by Deborah Landis, the wife of the director of Thriller. So I would have liked to see something like that. That would be really good.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
In fact, a general absence of stuff from a few of Michael Jackson's tracks, albums were noticeable by their absence.
Yeah. It was heavily focused on Dangerous and a few other tracks, but not everything like Moonwalker and stuff. But yeah, it could be more expensive.
Okay, now the next one's a bit more difficult. So there was Jeff Koons' white porcelain sculpture of Bubbles and Michael Jackson, white and gold it is. I think he did 3 of them, so I think it's a series of 3. They should have been in the show, but they were too difficult to ship. They're huge things of Bubbles and Michael Jackson together. I think it's kitsch, but meant to be. It's an icon. It was also an icon for Jeff Koons. It was one of his breakthrough pieces, I would argue, and I'm sure others would as well. And it was quite interesting, the choice of material and the choice of representation of Michael Jackson. I'll let you draw the conclusions you can from that. And it wasn't there. And I would say, okay, if that wasn't there, where were the sculptures? And there weren't really anything in the way of sculptures. Describing.
They did have a funny picture there, but it was all a bit blurry of it. So that wasn't very good at all, really.
No,
they could have done a whole lot better on that.
I think it was people trying to. Oh, I forget.
Yeah.
It was a photographer that was trying to see people's interaction with pieces of art, but I can't remember the name.
I don't think it kind of worked.
It didn't really work for that show. But I'd also say in the whole bit of sculpture, that a couple of other things came to mind. So if you couldn't have that, and I would know it would have been difficult to fit in, but there's the history, the histories where he had a giant statue of Michael Jackson going down the Thames on a barge. Don't know if anyone remembers that. And that was missing. Then you had the Alphides, who had a statue of Michael Jackson outside Fulham Football Club, which I think got taken down. eventually, and I've got a feeling that's in the Manchester Museum of Football. So Michael Jackson is there, gets about a bit. But the fact that there are so many, and also if you think about the way we personify heroes in the past, which is to put up a sculpture to them, and it's supposed to be art inspired by Michael Jackson and that sort of history, you kind of think, where was it? So I thought that was noticeable by its absence.
Yes. I'm going to turn the page here, so hopefully there won't be too much rustling. Next one, number 6, is tribute bands. Don't you just love them? I've added a link into one of my favourites, which is Clumsy from Bristol. I filmed them at the Harbour Regatta, performing Beat It, and they start off a bit rough and raw, but they turn it on its head with a bit of a reggae feel, and they all have their individual riffs that they go through with the sax and the guitars and what have you, and it's a really good feel-good thing, and they really get into it. So they're going, her, and all this sort of thing, and I say, so I love that. So have a look at that one as well. So that's always
we were there live filming them. That's how we came across them, and Okay. So funnily enough, here we didn't agree on these. We spoke tonight to decide what our choices were, and I've gone for something very similar. And this would be Alien Ant Farm's track. And a lot of you are going, Smooth Criminal, obviously centerpiece from Moonwalker. And the reason I consider it art, and I would include the video, it has to be the track and the video, without being geeky about this, is it's a parody, but a very gentle and affectionate parody of lots of Jacksonisms. It introduces kind of what I would call grunge. It's rock and roll really, but grunge music to the Michael Jackson style. So it's early 2000s, so a real changing of the guard in terms of music. But they do a very good version of it. And in the video, they do a lot of the Michael Jackson-isms in terms of moves, but in a sort of grungy style, I would say. And if I haven't got the pop genre right, forgive me there, but that's how I would think of it. And it's great. And even better than that, they were a bit worried about releasing this. They were going to release it anyway because they'd recorded the video and the track, and that's what you do. But they sent it off to Michael Jackson to look at, and apparently he really liked it. So he quite enjoyed the parody of him, and it is a very good musical track. So art inspired by Michael Jackson, you can certainly have a track inspired by him. And the reason I picked that up, Smooth Criminal in particular, is there's a few things. First of all, there was the video for Smooth Criminal at the National Portrait Gallery show, the MPG show, and it had playing over the top of the video, rather than the music by Michael Jackson, Frank Sinatra. And I kind of get it, in a way. Frank Sinatra and Michael Jackson this day, associated with the Rat Pack, so there's a sort of click in with the Criminals. You've got the connection with some of the dance as well, and the period of dance. So you've got Michael Jackson as his the moonwalk. It's obviously a jazz dance, or based on a jazz dance, and you've got the lean in that, which also Alien Ant Farm do as well, which is from a Fred Astaire film, I think. But that would have come from vaudeville and music hall, I guess, too. So there's lots of connections there, and I think that if you haven't got that track in, as in the way it was recorded, then I think that's kind of a big miss. As a fan, I'd have preferred to hear Michael Jackson's original music with the track, with the video, but they did that, so I didn't really spend a lot of time looking at it, I've got to say. I moved on that one. No, if you know the track already, why would you listen to it? And if it looked a bit odd to my view. It just looked odd. Get the art, but I think it was a bit too worthy. Yes, too worthy, I suppose. Number 8, I'll call it the bunny animation from Moonwalker. So there wasn't a lot on Moonwalker at all, apart from Smooth Criminal, which they put some other sort of soundtrack over it. So I really like that. I like the traffic cop bunny turning into something else and being a speed racer and all that sort of thing. Whether it's art inspired by Michael Jackson or Michael Jackson
created that in association with others, but I still like it because I love animation and video and putting all those sorts of things together. I just think it works really well in the film. So I like that kind of thing, and the cartoons that kind of were spawned from this, and just lots and lots of references I just enjoyed. So that was that one. And
me now, is
yeah,
it?
I think
So this is
so.
my last one, and this is a bit of a cheat. So I was talking to a lass who runs a gallery in Newark-upon-Trent in the UK. This is not in the US. And she's a gallery that largely sells figurative art. And she was talking about the death of David Bowie and how it generated a lot of really good art. And she was selling some of this, a lot of really good celebrity art. And it's kind of set me wondering, having gone around this show, and it's a show about the art that Michael Jackson inspired. And I'm trying to think why there was no real fan art there. There was one wall with some fan art pictures from one of the artists who was sort of rehashed a diary of the period, which was great. But there should have been a room and a gallery devoted to fan art. And the idea that this is any way inferior or any way worse than other art inspired by Michael Jackson, I think is a false notion. It should have been there and wasn't. And I think that was probably the biggest miss from the show. However, the next one I think makes up for it.
Yes. When you get all the way through this experience, right at the very end, there's a darkened room, large darkened room, and somebody has filmed various college students individually, and they sang through the tracks of one of his albums. Was it Thriller? I think it was Thriller. Yeah.
I don't know if it was all the tracks because I didn't stand there long enough.
And from the distance, before you get there, you can hear them all singing together. And they allowed them to get dressed up how they would want to be, and they were filmed individually. So you see all these people along the back there. And it was joyous. Some of the pictures out there were a bit sort of intense and a tortured genius kind of stuff going on, but this was a real celebration of people were really getting into it and doing the actions and a little bit of moonwalking, and some of them were totally dressed up, just sort of in the right way with the loose shirts and all this stuff going on. And that was really joyous, and they were having a really good time. Most of them, and some of them were a bit shy, but others really got into it, and it was just, and we've all been there. We've all been there when we've been singing Beat It, or whatever it is, and trying to do the actions, and people sort of a bit laughing and feeling embarrassed, and I think people wanted to join in, to be honest.
But it's funny to say that, because when I first saw it, I felt a bit voyeuristic about it.
Yeah.
And the more I watched it, I felt exactly the same thing. That was me. That was me doing those actions.
Yeah.
It was like, to quote a track. Okay, admittedly, Michael laid it down but didn't write it. But Man in the Mirror, I suddenly thought, that's me standing there. You know, that's me doing those actions.
Yeah.
This is fun. So that was.
And
I
people
thought that
were
was great.
starting to jiggle along to the things.
And that's really what the exhibition should have been more about. There was not enough.
Not enough celebration, really. Not really, I think. So the question is, what should the National Portrait Gallery do? You know, in future, what do we think? Because 2019 will be the 10th anniversary of Michael Jackson's death. A long time, actually, 10 years. And should there be something that's fan-sponsored or crowd-funded that's really about art inspired by Michael Jackson? Maybe there's something that you would like to see happen. And should we ask the National Portrait Gallery, the NPG, to do something? But what else do you think?
No, I'm with that completely. We chatted about that, and that was that's right. Yeah, it would be interesting to do something that was curated by the fans as opposed to curated by the curator.
Yes.
I mean, it was a good exhibition of contemporary art.
Definitely want to see it. If you're a fan, you definitely want to see it.
But not enough Michael Jackson.
Not enough Michael Jackson, no.
So yeah, it's an opportunity. Do the same thing. Michael Jackson Part 2, back on the wall again.
Yes, back on the wall. So I guess I don't know what we're going to be doing for our next one, but it will be quite interesting, I think. And so it'll be same time, same place.
Yeah, I think it's time for some Batman Turner Overdrive. Those of you who get the smashy and nicey connection. So away we go.